Boy, what a character! in He played a lot of good characters, also in real life. Quite the character. I had a
Yeah.
conversation with some people about him this weekend, and I think everybody had a different, like, ridiculous story. Whether it was talking about the dinosaur head, which I believe he bought, but it was
Yeah. The
actually
skull.
stolen, had to
Yeah.
be given back. The fact he owned a haunted house in New Orleans, which I've actually been to, or at least outside of, very creepy. Some of the stories around that are pretty ridiculous. Or if you just even think about, like, all the ridiculous roles he's played and characters he's been, he is quite the character. But recently, he's been making a bit of a comeback, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, totally. And Nicolas Cage, he's been in the game so long,
40 years.
yeah, 40-year career or whatever. Like he's had many comebacks for different reasons. So this is not the first one, but he has seemed to have come out of the on the other side of his most recent troubles, which were largely financial. He's working a ton, working on a lot of independent film and not, outside the studio system work, largely to cover like debts and personal mistakes he has made in his life. But more recently, I think the choices have just been more positively received with stuff like Colored Out of Space and Mandy. But then last year with Pig kind of coming out of nowhere from Neon and just a really amazing performance from Cage, Oscar worthy for sure. And now you're following it up with The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is a pretty by the numbers action comedy. But the core appeal of it is that it's super metatextual reference about Nick Cage playing himself. And I don't really know what other actors could be in a role like this because who else has the material to make a movie like this about themselves? Who else could do this besides Nicolas Cage? Nicolas Cage is a meme for many reasons, and this movie is largely about that meme.
Yeah. There's only one other actor that comes to mind that could have done this. And it's honestly someone who's kind of been doing similar stuff, and that's Keanu,
Ah,
who,
yeah.
has been kind of lambasted for his acting style at times, had the action career, has done romantic comedies, kind of has
Hmm.
done the whole gambit, and now more recently is kind of leaning into this, like, self-referential aspect of his career where he's almost playing himself just in every role at this point.
Right. It's like think of the "Always Be My Maybe"
Exactly.
cameo for this exactly. I guess Tom Cruise could do something like this, but the
Oh my god.
problem is Cruise still takes himself too seriously to ever
Yeah.
attempt something like this. Cage is very game in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent and really lampoons a lot of things about his life and his career that did in fact really happen.
Yeah.
And that just makes the movie really enjoyable no matter what kind of Cage fan you are. Because also I think is a really fun action comedy. And Cage and Pedro Pascal have great chemistry, and they're both movie stars.
Yeah, just thinking about both Keanu and Tom Cruise, which I think that's a great call. If he wanted to, he definitely could do something like this. But Cruise and Keanu have those action franchises right now that they still rely upon, whereas Cage doesn't really have that franchise, which I think
Yeah.
even makes this part of his career even more impressive because he really is just kind of doing movies that he really believes in or wants to do. It seems, and that seems to be hitting more. Um, yeah,
National Treasure 3. You think Disney's thinking about it?
I think they
That's the
gotta be.
franchise that's right there for them.
I would love it if it came back. I mean, it's a terrible franchise, but it's also so good at the same time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It is. So yeah, now we come to the actual movie. We've been talking around it. The unbearable weight of massive talent. Nicolas Cage is Nick Cage in this movie, and it's a lot of fun. I found this to be like you mentioned. I think it talks about a lot of the different aspects of Nick Cage's career and life, and I think the way it kind of weaves in and out of these things that actually happened, with just kind of things from the story, or things from the written plot and story is pretty interesting. But really, just putting Nicolas Cage alongside Pedro Pascal and letting them just, like, have a great time makes the movie so much fun. And I just thought this was super enjoyable. Not a movie that I think will make anyone's end of year list, but for what it is, just real delight. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I agree. I really enjoyed myself the entire time. I think what perhaps disappointing about it is it doesn't actually dig as deep as it potentially could about the Cage of it all. You know, Cage again has had multitudes in his career, in his personal life, in his time as a celebrity. There was a lot of material to mine, but also things to comment on. But this movie doesn't actually go that deep, which is totally okay because the movie's still really fun. And even if it's ultimately just kind of about the meme of Cage, you know, not the bees, like he openly acknowledges the meme in the movie. It doesn't actually go beyond the meme that much, but again, it's fine because the movie is still a lot of fun. And I think the stuff that works best is, I think, clearly like the Pascal Cage of it all. Pascal's character as this like super fan in Majorca, bringing Cage out to him, and they actually become a kindred spirits, and they have like these comments about like film production and making original movies and stuff. And it's actually like a huge reference to a lot of people like us that talk about the movie industry in more high-minded ways. And it's like that was like really funny to hear that expressed. And like again, we don't get too deep about anything in this movie, but it's totally fine just to see things acknowledged the way they are. Um, I think the stuff with uh Javi's cousin, who's the actual villain, the actual crime lord in the story. That stuff's like pretty standard, and like that ending action stuff is pretty standard. Um, but again, I don't mind because like I feel like the chemistry between our core characters is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I felt like that kind of stuff was just like background, but I really enjoyed more so just like the scenes where Cage was kind of put in these situations where he has to like choose between these ridiculous outcomes, and just like the whole like premise of him like going to this island to like basically like a money grab and then being thrown into this like CIA undercover plot while he's actually like becoming friends with Javi. It's just like such a fun
Yeah,
like juxtaposition.
his
Then you throw his family into it. It's great.
yeah his nouveau shamanic acting ability. I might actually be a good CIA agent.
Mhm.
Like he
Yeah.
just sells it really well.
Yeah, yeah. CIA agents and acting have a lot in common. I'm basically a CIA agent. Just like, okay, the logic's fantastic. I also really liked the stuff where it was like him facing himself and just like how much he was really laughing at himself as like
Mm,
Nicky Cage, the younger
yes.
version of himself, and where they actually like make out at one point and just
Which
like
apparently was a Cage suggestion. The script had him just kiss on the cheek, and it was Nick Cage in real life who said, "No, I want to aggressively make out with Nikki."
that's fantastic. I just love how game Cage was to like poke fun at himself in this.
Yeah,
I don't know if many stars like you mentioned would have the balls to do something like this.
yeah. Honestly, like, and I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just fun, and like,
Mhm,
if no one else wants to do it, that's fine. Cage did want to do it. That's cool.
mhm.
Um, Heck, I even thought like Ike Barinholtz and Haddish were pretty good. Like again, like the whole like FBI plot itself is pretty paint by numbers, but I thought Haddish and Ike were like really funny, especially when they're first introduced. Um,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah, I actually felt like Haddish should have been used a little bit more in this because I felt like her whole like straight laced FBI agent with Cage's ridiculousness was actually like a pretty fun duo between them. And I was thinking, Haddish was such a rocket there back a few years ago, like what 2018, when like
yeah,
she was
girls
popping
trip.
off with girls trip and night school and stuff like that. And then I mean, she was then doing a lot of voice acting stuff.
Card Counter last year was a hit for her.
And yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe she's starting to take some more thoughtful roles. I dug her with the shaved head.
Mhm.
I'm kind of hoping maybe she's like gonna be going more towards some like serious stuff or maybe some better choices. But
Sure.
I'm looking here and she's in Haunted Mansion next year, which just the name of it
Oh, the
doesn't sound.
Scarlet movie, right? Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, no, could have used a little bit more Haddish. But yeah, I thought
right.
this was just great.
Yeah, and Pascal too, like just continues to impress. He's gotten more and more famous ever since
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, and he's in The Mandalorian, even if most people don't realize it. Seeing the scene, obviously, with the helmet, and the stunt work. But like even like Wonder Woman 1984 wasn't very good, but Pascal was good as the
Yeah,
bad guy and really swarmy, and in this movie he's like just so committed, and he just instantly plays off of Cage. And I mean, Pascal's a rocket ship, no, nothing to worry about there. But really,
yeah.
just curious to see what's next for Cage, because we're in the midst of one of these Cage comebacks, and he seems to at least be somewhat self-aware of his standing in the culture and his career, as evidenced by this film. So, uh, who knows where it can go? I feel like it's hard to predict.
Yeah, it's funny. Just looking quickly through the Pascal filmography here. Obviously, we saw him in The Bubble recently, and
Mhm.
even if that movie was not one of our favorites, the scene where he almost died is by far the funniest scene in that movie, and he's pretty fun in that. But he did Triple Frontier a few years back.
Oh
He
yeah.
had I think a guest appearance. I don't really remember him in this, but in Beale Street, if Beale Street could talk, he was in
Oh, I
that.
don't remember
So
that either. Yeah.
I he's done some good stuff. Kingsman: The Golden Circle, he's in for a little bit. So there's some I mean, everything he's in, he's just a delight. I really enjoy where his career's
Yeah.
going. And by far my favorite scene was them tripping on LSD. I mean, that was just hilarious
Yep.
to me.
Yeah. Everything with the car. Cage starts driving, he crashes into fucking everything.
Well,
Like
even
it's
how it starts when they're like, what the guy's eating ice cream, they're like, "Don't look," and then he just like looks over. It's just hilarious.
laugh naturally.
Staring dead in the eye. Also, then with the whole like wall thing where he's like, I'll never forget you," like whatever, and then he just like walks around to the side. The whole
Yeah.
thing is just so ridiculous. That was great.
Also, quick shout out to the actress who plays Cage's daughter in the film, played by Lily Sheen, who I'd never seen before, but turns out she is the daughter of Kate Beckinsale and Martin Sheen. Who would have known?
Wow. I'm sure we'll be hearing from her more moving forward.